A very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of Sanjeev College, I would like to thank each one. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Innovative Ventures. He is the founder and executive vice chairman of InfoEdge India Limited, which owns as Naukri.com, 99acres.com, and jeevansathi.com. With over 25 years of experience in building and thought leader in the industry. An honor to have you today, sir. On behalf of everyone at EDC, I wish all attendees of the session a riveting experience as they hear Mr. Bikhchandani share his insights and on entrepreneurship.
I think Muskan is facing some network issues. So, yeah. So I think Smriti, you can just begin with the introduction.
Yeah, I'll do that. Am I audible to you, sir?
Absolutely.
A very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of St. Xavier's College, Autonomous Kolkata, I would like to thank each one of you for being present here today. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, a prominent business leader and entrepreneur who has made a significant impact on the Indian economy through his innovative ventures. He is the founder and executive vice chairman of the InfoEdge India Limited, which owns some of India's most successful internet businesses such as Naukri.com, 99acres.com, and jeevansathi.com. With over 25 years of experience in building and scaling businesses, Mr. Bikhchandani is a sought-after speaker and thought leader in the industry. We are extremely thrilled and honored to have you with us today, sir. On behalf of everyone at EDC, I wish all the attendees of this session a riveting experience as they hear Mr. Bikhchandani share his insights and experiences on entrepreneurship, innovation, and building successful businesses in the digital age. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. I look forward to the session.
So, beginning with a few questions, like one question which was common from all was that you were a pass out from one of the top-notch colleges long ago, and so today sitting among college-going students who are so young to you, what is your feeling and how do you feel today being in this crowd?
I really enjoy interacting with young people for several reasons. Number one, it gives me energy. It makes me feel young myself, right? And I have a good memory. So, according to me, I was in college not that long ago. Second is young people, have fresh ideas, new ideas. Old people have old ideas. And I love listening to new ideas and getting ideas from young people. Okay, and I love investing behind other people's ideas. We've done that enough. Deepinder Goyal was 28 years old when I first time met him and we invested. And look what Zomato has become today. This was 13 years ago, right? So I really enjoy interacting with young people and I look forward to these opportunities.
So, sir, thank you for the answer. My question is that you yourself have been an IIM graduate and you had a very decent paying job in your times. However, you chose to quit it and start a company of your own. So what was the motivation or driving spirit that, no, I want to start something of my own now?
I had this desire to be an entrepreneur from very young. When I was 12 or 13 years old, this is way back in 1975 or 76. And I used to sort of think that, maybe at some point in time in my life, we didn't call it entrepreneurship then. I said, maybe at some point in time in my life, I should start my own business, my own company. I thought it'd be more creative. I thought I'll be my own boss. I wanted the independence, the autonomy. I thought the sky would be the limit. And all these were dreams. And I'm from a salaried middle class background. My father was a doctor in the government. My mother, homemaker. So we were not brought up, we were not raised as a family, as children, my brother, my sister, and I, to start a company, to start a business. We were conditioned from the beginning that study hard, do well in school, you'll get into a good college, do well in the college, you'll get a good post graduation after that, and you'll get a good job. Right. So we were brought up with the entrance exam mindset, and a board exam mindset. Clear the entrance exam, get good marks in the board exam, move to the next, do well there, move to the next, and so on and so forth. So I did that. And I was capable of getting into good colleges and getting into an IIM. But that entrepreneurial bug stayed with me. And so maybe after 5 years of working, 3 years before my MBA, 2 years after my MBA, I said, okay, enough is enough. Let me quit and start something. And in 1990, I quit my job, and a friend and I started a couple of very small things. We started doing salary surveys, and we started a trademarks database. We had no money. We had 2,000 rupees, and that's how we started the company. But we managed to do a salary survey, and we sold it, got the money. We invested it back. We bought a computer. We bought some furniture. We rented an office, and so on and so forth. And we moved ahead. And that's how, inch by inch, we were able to build the company over the next several years. And for the first 7 years, I drifted and did a whole bunch of small things. Salary surveys, teaching, training, trademarks database, other reports, some small-time consulting, part-time journalism, wrote a book or two. And we launched Naukri in 1997 after 7 years of drifting as seemingly one more small idea. At that time, the internet was very new in India. And there were only 14,000 internet accounts in the country then. So we had no idea it'll become big. It was just one more small idea. But why I became an entrepreneur? See, the moment you're in a job, right, I felt I would be boxed in. I'd know my career path. I know 30 years from now, I'll be doing this, 20 years from now, I'll be doing that. It's very predictable. And if you do your own company, the sky's the limit, right? And I wanted that experience.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. Like this, in a nutshell, your journey is really inspiring for each one of us and all the people who are going to view this session even after the session gets over. So now the next question being that when you started out, there must have been a lot of difficulties and there must have been a lot of opportunities as well present during that time. So what do you think is one of the major or 2-3 differences which you see during what happened that time in 70s, 80s or 90s and now as to what the opportunities are and what are the challenges which you see taking place?
देखिए 70s or 80s अलग थे, 90s अलग थे. I was born in 1963, so my earliest memory or conversation about anybody about what I should be doing in life would have been in the 70s, right? In class 4 or 5 or 6, so in those days, the economy was growing slowly. You were conditioned to to study science and then either do engineering or medicine. And if you do engineering, you got to do it from IIT. And if you go to IIT, then after IIT, you go to the US for a master's or a PhD. And that was, for many people, an escape route from India. Right? I'll go, and IIT is my ticket to the US. Okay? And a large number of people went and did very well there. Right? Somehow I was not enthused about the idea of going and living in the US. So after school, I got into IIT, but I also got economics at St. Stephen's, and I was not particularly interested in engineering. And so I decided to go to St. Stephen's. and study economics. Not that I knew a lot about economics, but I was enthusiastic about it. But I said, you got to do something in college. You may as well do this, right? And at the end of that, I got a job in advertising. I worked there for 3 years, and then I wrote The Cat and went to IIM Ahmedabad. For educated middle class students who were good at studies and therefore could clear all the entrance exams and get good jobs, entrepreneurship was not a career option of choice. It's not something you did. You were very happy to get into a good job in a good company, or clear the IAS and join the government, or become a CA, right? Or become a doctor or an engineer. And those were the career paths, right? People who got into business did it because their families were in business, or because they may not have got a good job and didn't have a choice, or because people from particular castes and communities in India, the default choice is to start a business as opposed to take up a job in a company, right? I was not from that background. So for me, the choices were, fairly conventional. There was no venture capital available. There was no risk capital available. Markets are small. Economy was growing slowly. It was very difficult to get bank finance if you didn't have collateral and didn't have a track record or a background. So you had to do it with very little money, with your ingenuity, with your wits, and somehow survive and get by and try and grow. And that's, that was really the path that was open to me if I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that's the path I took.
That was a great answer and like an inspiration to many of us, because we are also college going students right now looking for career opportunities. So, sir, I have a question that we often hear that roadblocks and hurdles are a part and parcel of successful businesses. So, can you tell us about a major setback or failure that you faced in your journey as an entrepreneur in your initial stages, and what did you do to overcome it? Like, how did you overcome the hurdles?
Well, see, you don't go out looking for hurdles, but the truth is the entrepreneurial journey very often will have hurdles. So if you're clear and determined that aapko entrepreneur banna hai, so you will have to face setbacks and hurdles, right? And typically this will be stuff like you don't have enough capital. You've got to somehow make do. You can't pay yourself a salary for a long time. You're tightening your belt and still surviving, right? You have to pay salary bills for your employees at the end of the month, but bank mein paisa nahi hai, right? You misread the customer and misread the market, and you built something and trying to sell something the customer is not buying, doesn't want. Aapki sale nahi ho rahi hai, right? Because you don't have capital, your infrastructure is poor. Now, so these are typical kind of hurdles that a startup entrepreneur faces if he doesn't have capital. And that's what, we went through. But we kept our expectations low in terms of our own personal compensation. We, and I remember the first 10 years of being an entrepreneur, I didn't take a salary for about 6 years. From 1990 to 93, I didn't take a salary. From 97 to 2000, I didn't take a salary. And what I would do is I would teach at business schools in and around Delhi on weekends as visiting faculty to earn some money, maybe 2,500 rupees a month, to somehow get by, right? I become a part-time journalist. So I've done a whole lot of things to somehow scrape through while keeping the company going. And I think a bootstrapping entrepreneur will do that. And you should be open to that.
So thank you so much for that answer. moving on to the next question, that generally we say, and we see in a lot of articles also, that many entrepreneurs and many corporate giant building people, they say that they had some kind of a mentor or a kind of a advisor, or a person whom they look up to when they build their own venture. So can you highlight some, like, what is the importance, and maybe who was your mentor or guiding person who was there throughout when you were building your own venture?
So I had no single mentor. And, I think this mentor thing is perhaps a bit misunderstood or overrated. You should be talking to many people and listening to many people, but making up your own mind. Right? In my career, in my working life, I have learned from many people. Former colleagues, my bosses, my peers, sometimes even subordinates. When I was in my 5 years in the corporate sector, you learn from many people. You observe, you read, and then you figure things out. So the thing about an entrepreneur is that you have to be able to make up your own mind and come to your own decisions about what is right, what is wrong for you, and what's the right thing for you to do. If you depend on one mentor, you don't know if that person is leading you the right path or wrong path, and you may or may not develop your own mind. तो आपको सबसे बात करनी है, सबकी सुननी है, लेकिन करनी अपनी है. So don't depend on a mentor. और mentor कोई आसमान से नहीं आएगा. You just look around you, people in your network, people, just figure out, who to talk to, when, and for what. So I have learned different things from different people.
Thank you so much for that answer, sir. So also one of my other questions were that you launched Naukri.com at a time where internet was still in its very early stages in India. Like it was just, people were just exploring the internet. So how did you navigate the challenges of building a business in that area in a relatively new industry?
तो पहले तो हमारे पास पैसे नहीं थे, तो हमने कहा खर्चे कम करो. पैसे नहीं, क्या खर्चोगे? तो अगर खर्चे कम करोगे, then you need very little revenue to break even and make a small profit, right? So we started off with that approach, right? Now, when we launched Naukri, there were roughly about 14,000 internet accounts in the country. With shared accounts, it would be about 1.5-2 lakh users honge, right? Sorry, are you guys okay in Hindi as well and English both? Yeah, okay. So I said to myself, if we can persuade 500 companies every month, 1,000 companies every month, 1,000 companies every month to pay us 500 rupees for a job listing for each month, right? We will do 5 lakhs a month of revenue, right? Which is 60 lakhs a year. And I said, if I can do this in 3 years' time, it'll look like a good, small, profitable business. Because kharche honge 20-30 lakh, I had estimated. So 20-25 lakh ka profit ho jayega, और मेरी तनख्वाह निकल जाएगी. I was not taking a salary. अच्छा अगर ये 3 साल में हो जाए, I will call it success. Right? So what did we do? First thing is we began to get 29 newspapers from around the country into our office. These 29 newspapers would carry appointment ads, job ads, right? We had 2 data entry guys, paying them, I think, a few thousand rupees a month, right? This is back in 97, all right? And we said, ये database का format है, ये data structure है, ये job information है, इनको आप यहाँ पे इसमें type करो. We had one person checking it. कि उन्होंने अंग्रेजी ठीक डाली कि नहीं डाली. This is read okay, right? And we would input a couple of 100 jobs every day from all over India, right? And we would put this on the website update the site twice a week. Right? And we keep each job live for 30 days. So which means we had maybe 5,000-6,000 jobs in the site any point in time in the beginning. No revenue, going up free of cost. खर्चा कितना है? 2 data entry operating salary, 2 second-hand computers, 1 second-hand modem to log into the net and update the site twice a week. Shared server, $25 a month. My brother was paying for it. So roughly in maybe 30,000 rupees plus our labor, our own labor to build the site, to do the programming. 30,000 rupees a month, we were running the site. अब 6 महीने हमने ये किया. What happened in the 6th month was we got a phone call. And the voice on the other end said, I am so-and-so from this company in Pune. It was a mid-sized auto component company in Pune. And the MD was calling up himself. And उस जमाने में 8 साल की waiting list थी, get a telephone line, landline. So हमारे पास एक ही landline थी. And that I would pick up. Right? मैंने phone उठाया. And this guy says, you've taken my job in the past. I've got responses. And I had advertised in the papers, but I've got 6 jobs which I've not advertised. Can I send them to you? Would you put them up? And मैंने बोल दिया, yes, sir, but you'll have to pay. He said, how much? And on an impulse, I said 350 rupees a job. बिना सोचे समझे. Right? The guy says, right, your address is on your website. I am couriering you a check, a draft with the details of the job. आप डाल दीजिएगा. तो 2 दिन में वो draft आ गया along with the job by courier. हमने डाल दिया. And I said, okay, this looks like we could have a business. It's not just a hobby now. Right? And जो हमने सारे पुराने jobs हैं 6 महीने के, we retrieved them from the archive. हमने उन सब से mailing list बनाई of all the advertisers. And we got a mailing list of 3,000 HR managers who had advertised earlier in the paper, whose jobs we'd put up on the site. उन सबको हमने चिट्ठी लिखी, hard copy post, saying, this is the internet, this is Naukri. You must have received a response from Naukri earlier. You must have applied because we put up your job earlier from the papers. ये format है, आप हमें भेज दीजिए 350 rupees job listing or 6,000 rupees annual subscription, unlimited jobs through the year for your company. Right? ये हमने चिट्ठी भेजी 3,000 लोगों को और checks आने लग गए. Mostly for annual subscriptions. The 6,000 rupees was no-brain price. अगले 1 साल में जो भी आपके जॉब है आप नौकरी में डाल लो. Right? हमारा टोटल खर्चा इंक्लूडिंग कॉस्ट ऑफ मेलिंग वगैरह सब मिला मिलू के था महीने का विदाउट माय सैलरी महीने का आई थिंक 2 लाख रुपए था. और मैंने सोचा कि अगर महीने में 30 एनुअल सब्सिडी आ गए 1 per day, right, we have broken even roughly without my salary. And that's exactly what happened. Every month we'd mail out. Every month we'd get some annual subscriptions, and we'd break even. So that way, in a small market with low cost, but a useful service, we were able to generate enough revenue to break even and be financially viable. We had no venture capital. That's how we built a small business.
So that is a great strategy. I mean, thinking now is it's very different of what went behind when you started this venture. So sir, another question which we have from the audience is that when we see this new things like blockchain, AI, and things like chat GPT coming in, so you yourself coming from the job market and job industry, what do you think is the opportunity ahead, and maybe, some people say that AI is going to replace many jobs and all. So what is your view on that?
We are waiting and watching. मैंने जो देखा है in the past is a lot of claims are made, but दुनिया एक साल में नहीं बदलती, 10, 20, 30 साल लगते हैं. ठीक है, तो जो कुछ भी बदलाव आएगा, it'll start, but it'll take time. Is my reckoning. It's not as if in 3 years' time all programmers are unemployed. No, that will not happen. So you will, while Chat GPT may replace a few jobs, it will also create new jobs, and that's the way it is with new technologies. Bob, देखिए, before you guys were born, in 1985, I was 22 years old, and I was just at the beginning of my career. And Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister. Rajiv Gandhi ने कहा कि we must bring computers. Computer productivity tool, we must bring computers. And therefore, सारे banks में, उस समय केवल public sector bank होते थे, सारे public sector bank में computer आएंगे. So bank employees went on strike, saying we would be replaced by computers. We lose our jobs. There was a lot of fear. It's all over the press. But कुछ हुआ नहीं ऐसा. Computers आए, इस्तेमाल हुए, but they were productivity tools, and they made each employee more productive. Nobody was sacked. Now, I'm not saying the exact same thing will happen. All I'm saying is, very often, we don't really know what will happen. And I can't say for sure, but I'm willing to bet that Chat GPT will be a productivity tool, perhaps more than a job replacement tool.
It was great listening to you. So, sir, my next question was that many people want to start their own venture and not get into the mundane corporate jobs, but they are unable to find the idea which they can build something upon. So, how does one go about identifying the potential idea which can be scaled to another level?
You see, if you look at successful entrepreneurs, right, very many of them, right, and you say, where did the idea come from? Right? हर एक का experience अलग होता है, but some patterns emerge. Right? So one theory I have is that successful businesses are built on deep customer insights. Deep customer insights about what? About unsolved problems, about unmet needs, about some hassle the customer is facing. आपने उसको solve किया है. So मैं आपको 2 उदाहरण देता हूं. When I was in my last job, I was in marketing, and it is a company called HMM, which is now called GlaxoSmithKline, and I was handling the brand Horlicks. Right? वो कलकत्ता में काफी बिकता है. शायद आपने भी, also your mother must have given it to you, right, when you were young, or perhaps even now. Yeah. So I was working on the brand Horlicks in that company. Right? And the company other brands, Boost, Brill Cream, Eno, Marmite, कई brands है, Sylvie Cream, कई brands है. The marketing team would sit in an open hall. हम 8-10 लोग थे जो खुले हॉल में बैठते थे. कोई कैबिन नहीं थे हमारे पास. खुला hall means you could see and hear what people are doing and saying. So मैंने notice किया, when the office copy of Business India would come in, the magazine of Business India, that magazine, when that office copy would come in, everybody would read it from the back. The reason being that in those days, there were 35 to 40 pages of appointment ads at the back of Business India. Right? It is the #1 appointment ad medium for managers in the country then. And people would not read the article sometimes, just look at the appointment ads and then pass on the magazine. So, and then they'll start discussing about jobs. And I found this interesting behavior, right? It gave me an insight that jobs are a high interest category of information. Even if you're not looking for a job, you look at the job. आप ad देख लोगे. आपको देखना है क्या हो रहा है मार्केट में, am I doing all right, benchmarking, market intelligence, जो भी है. Right? So the idea of Naukri germinated from that observation. That jobs are a high interest category of information. And I got that from observing my colleagues who were my target customers for Naukri when we launched. I met Deepinder Goyal, the founder of Zomato, for the first time in 2010. And when I met him, now Zomato was then called Foodie Bay. Naam alag tha uska. And there were other restaurant listing sites, right? And they all had restaurant names, location, phone number, whatever type of cuisine. But Zomato was the only one that had all the menu cards. Foodie Bay was the only one which had all the menu cards. And I found that very, very interesting. And useful. Because my son and I, we would use the website, see the menus, and then decide where to eat. Right? So when I met Deepinder Goyal for the first time, I asked him, Deepinder, the idea kahan se aaya? Where do you have the idea of putting all the menu cards? He said, look, I was working in Bain Consulting. Bain in Gurgaon. Now, Bain Consulting was a company with maybe 50 or 60 people in Delhi, in Gurgaon. Mostly young, mostly single, mostly male. Many living away from home, their hometowns. What this meant was that wo ghar se khana nahi laate the. There was nobody to make lunch for them at home. They were living as bachelors. And consulting hours were long, office hours were long. You invariably spent maybe you did lunch and dinner both in the office, 2 meals in the office. Office had a cafeteria that would not serve lunch, but you could bring your own food and eat it. To make life easy for the employees, the admin team had collated the delivery menu cards of all the restaurants that would deliver to that location, maybe 70 or 80 of them, and had put all those menu cards in a file folder in the cafeteria. Now, Deepinder said, yeah, har roz 1 baje, I'm hungry, I have a deadline to meet, my boss is jumping on my head, I'm stressed. I have to go down to the cafeteria, stand in line to consult the file, get it for 2 minutes, phone of the restaurant, place the order, come back in 1 hour when the food comes, pay the guy, and then eat. Very inconvenient. So he said, I came in one weekend and I scanned all these 70, 80 menu cards and I uploaded these menus on my personal page on the office intranet. He says, within 3 days, the IT infra guy came to me and said, man, what have you done? Why is 95% of the internal traffic going to your page? And penny dropped. I realized that this is not just my problem, it's everyone's problem. And aggregation of menu cards has got value. So the customer told him, his colleagues told him, through their actions, that aggregation of menu cards has got value, just as I had learned 15 years ago or 10 years ago, that aggregation of jobs has got value. Both were customer insights. So one of the best ways to get an idea is to observe prospective customers, work with prospective customers, figure out what the pain points are, and try and solve them. So if you solve an unsolved problem, you won't have to sell, the customer will buy. And if you're in a situation where the customer is buying without you trying to sell, that's half the battle won. And that's a good idea. This is one way to get ideas. But you know, आपका idea आपका है. You will have to figure it out. You will have to find it. You'll have to figure out if it'll work or not. It'll have to resonate with you. And that's when you do your business. You would not say, yeah, I don't have an idea. Give me an idea, do business. No. It's your idea. You got to find it.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. So another question which we have from the audience is that like you must have seen the 2008 financial crisis, as well as like just a few years ago when COVID had hit. So there were a lot of layoffs, and all the top companies or all across the globe, everyone was laying off. A lot of jobs were being laid off. So being from the job market and job industry, what do you think, and how can one handle these kind of situations when these kind of problems or crisis arise?
Okay, we have been through several recessions as a company. Fortunately for us, we have been able to come through all of them without us having to sack people. In the year 2000, 2009, 2015, 2020, right? The reason why we are able to do it is because we are profitable, we are high margin, and we have enough cash reserves to tide us through these tough times. मुझे याद है, the most recent one was COVID, right? March 24, 2000, national lockdown, right? April, June quarter, 2020, right? Naukri sales growth was minus 44%. Minus 44%. But because we were high margin, we were still profitable. We also had a few thousand crores in the bank because we just been accumulating profit, accruing profit, right? So we asked the CFO, can you run us an exercise that assuming sales goes to zero and we cut marketing expenditure to zero and we give zero increments, right? How long can we survive on the current cash reserves, right? And he came back with an answer, which is 3 years. And then we said 3 years long enough. We won't sack anybody. See, if you sack somebody because the environment is poor, उनको नौकरी नहीं मिलनी है आसानी से. Environment is poor, right? So we felt people are tense anyway about COVID. They are fearing for their lives and their families' lives. Upar se, if you sack people, it'll be a really terrible thing to do, right? We did not sack a single person, but we had the cash reserves and the margins to come through it. Let's say you have to sack people. You're in a situation where you are not that profitable, you're not that high margin, you don't have those cash reserves, and you have to sack people. I think, first of all, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you should tighten your own belt first. कि मैं तनख्वाह नहीं लूंगा या कम तनख्वाह लूंगा, पहले मैं काटूंगा, right? Only then will I touch others. Then you will say, okay, fine, let me see how can we not sack, whatever, cut salaries and give people stock instead. Will they take it, right? Will that be acceptable? Can I have a conversation with my colleagues? I think sacking should be the last resort when the environment is tough, because ultimately they're your people, right? When the environment is tough, because अगर उनको नौकरी मिलनी नहीं है, it's not a very nice thing to do. But देखो, ultimately, if you have to do it so the company survives, you will have to do it. I would say do it with giving people as much of a soft landing as possible, enough notice period, help in finding a next job, promising to get them back if they're still looking when the environment turns and you're looking for people. right? All of those things.
So that was a great answer. So you have like a varied experience and like you have expertise in the job industry. What do you think that the skills that are highly in demand and those that are being lagged in today's graduates?
You know, there are many skills that are in short supply and demand. Many of them are technical skills, the latest technologies, right? But you may find the most jobs are actually still in the conventional fields of sales and service, right? And if you don't have technical skills, right? मान लो आपने इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ा है, बीकॉम पढ़ा है, जैसे मैंने किया था. Yeah, I did not know how to program, right? I did not know data analytics, AI, algorithm को मालूम नहीं था. शायद आपको मालूम नहीं होगा, right? Maybe you can acquire that knowledge. Let's say you can't acquire that knowledge or don't want to acquire that knowledge. As long as you can sell and as long as you can serve and as long as you're willing to work hard, right? It's a great thing. You will find a job because the largest number of jobs are still there. One thing I'll say that very few people in India today can actually write well. I'm not saying writing as in being a content writer, writing in daily communication in office, writing a report, right? If your communication skills are good, both in English, both written and oral, I think it'll help you a lot. Your numeracy should be good, which is you can work with spreadsheets, you can work with, what, to put it crudely, would be arithmetic. You can work with spreadsheets, you can work with numbers, right? And if you're able to do that, I think you'll be fine. But the truth is, you don't specialize in your courses, you specialize on the job. Because fortunately or unfortunately, our education system in India does not train us well enough for specific skills in the workplace. वो आप on the job सीखते हो.
Very true, sir. So, like, we have a next question that, you have invested in companies like Zomato, just like you mentioned, story about Zomato as well. So, sir, there must have been some sort of investment or some sort of involvement of yours in some startup, which might not have turned well. So, what can be some kind of a story behind that startup, and what could be the learnings from that?
Like here, when we invest in startups, and you invest in dozens, right? You believe in the entrepreneur, and you believe in the idea, and you believe it will succeed. That's why you invest, right? But the truth is, the startup world is uncertain. Entrepreneurship is Darwinian. Many try, few survive, right? And that's life. Okay. And startups can fail for several reasons. Competition, poor execution, could be bad economic environment, could be it was ahead of its time, misreading of customer need for the thing. Many reasons, right? But I must say that the entrepreneurs we invested behind, whether they succeeded or failed, I think they all were genuine, honest, talented people who tried and are trying, right? And while we risk our money, an entrepreneur risks his or her life. And we have a portfolio of companies. The entrepreneur only has one life. He does not have a portfolio. So you must respect that, and we respect that. Okay. Sometimes business succeed, business fail. I mean, that's life.
Thank you so much for that answer, sir. So I have one more question, that you've invested in leading ventures like Zomato and Policy Bazaar. What can be the parameters which investors evaluate before private investments?
I'll tell you what we look at.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the first thing is, भाई customer ये चाहेगा कि नहीं? Will the customer want this? Is there any evidence? Does the customer want it? Kuch data hai, right? So Zomato had already launched, and we could make out the traffic. We had used the site. We said, boss, this is the only one with menu cards, and this is based on a customer insight. Customer wants us. First thing. Policy Bazaar, we invested pre-launch. So we did not know the customer wanted. We assumed the customer wanted. But that assumption was based on some observation, experience, some evidence, right? And what was that? So Yashish Daya, founder of Policy Bazaar, met me in my cabin, and he said, I'm willing to bet that you are paying 60% more for your car insurance than you need to. And I said, don't be daft. I got a standard car. I got it from the dealer. The dealer gave me the insurance. Insurance is a public sector company, national insurance company. Standard car, standard, company, standard policy, the standard price. He says, no, you'll be surprised how different companies price risk differently. And therefore, they price the insurance policies differently. So he said, take out your car insurance, show it to me. So I took out my car insurance in my backpack in my cabin. And I gave him the, okay, this model car, this year, so many miles done, this, whatever, driver driven, not owner driven. He queried something online. And he came back with details of 8 options. And sure enough, the lowest priced insurance policy was 40% below what I was paying. And he said, listen, there's huge opacity in insurance pricing. Customers don't know because you don't know what you're buying and you don't research it too much. And I said, this is such a compelling hook. Ye service to bikegi. This site will be popular. People will come. Because in India, everybody wants the best deal. Or itna price variation hai, you will want to buy the best possible policy. And so we invested. So first is, will the customer want it? Or does the customer want it, right? The second is the team, right? What's the quality of the team? In both these instances, we were very happy with the quality of team. Third is, what's the competitive situation? Market kitna bada hai? Kitna grow kar raha hai? Kahan tak jayega? Are there any national sites that have companies that have built a big business anywhere in the world on this? Then you get into all the other things. But pehle do hai, will the customer want it? And how good is the team?
That was a wonderful answer, sir. So we have a question from the audience, and I'd like to take that up.
So firstly, sir, good afternoon, sir. It's been a really enlightening session as of now. So I had this question. So if we look at the majority of the unicorns that we have in India currently, they all have been focusing more on customer acquisition and have been burning cash consistently. So with no particular path to profitability, do you think this is the new normal for today's startups, or what problem that we are facing that startups are not able to turn profitable?
Actually things are changing. For the last 1.5 years, I think people's priorities have shifted. Investors are pushing companies for profit. It's getting harder to raise money if you don't have good unit economics, right? And those who can't make this pivot are in trouble, are going to be in trouble. And those who can will survive and do well. So things are changing. And it has substantially changed even as we, in the last 1.5 years.
Okay, sir, got your point.
Meanwhile,
So,
I'd request a few startup founders who are present in the meeting, if they would like to interact with Sanjeev sir, could also raise their hand in the Zoom call and we can direct your question to sir. So, any startup founder or anyone from the audience? Yeah. So we have a question from Shubham Shah. How do you see innovative hardware products from investors' perspective? Do you invest in them?
You see, the thing about a VC fund is that it has a finite life. So typically a VC fund is run by fund managers who have raised money from other people. And a fund has a fund life. And at the end of the fund life, you have to give money back to your investors. Or even before that, if you exit the companies. तो अगर फंड लाइफ 10 साल है, which means आपको लगभग 8 साल में you have to start thinking your exit from the start of fund. If you invest in year 3 of your fund, आपको 8 साल में उनको 5 साल की investment life है. The problem with hardware companies is that very often the gestation period for a company to grow, perhaps get profitable, or offer an exit to the investor, right? It is sometimes going to take more than the life of the fund. Now, if the investor believes that the gestation period is going to be more than life of fund, chances are he'll not invest. Or he won't come in early stage, he'll come in late stage, right? The other thing is that, you see, VC investing is high risk. Now, a really successful VC fund will want to return 10x to its investors. A moderately successful one is 4 to 5x, right? Now, if a fund manager wants to return 10x to his investors, he knows some companies will fail. Therefore, the ones that succeed should give him maybe 25, 30x in order to make up for the ones that failed. So an average 8-10x हो जाए, right? But at the time of investing, he does not know कि ये 2x होगा या 30x होगा. So he will only say, can this give me 30x? Now, if he asks the same question of a hardware company in India today, there aren't that many hardware companies where he or she will believe इससे 30x हो सकता है या 20x हो सकता है. तभी मैं घुसूंगा इसमें. Right? And therefore, hardware companies find it slightly harder. Now, things are changing. There are new funds coming up, hardware funds, of funds that look at hardware. But even then, it's a lot harder for hardware companies to raise money as compared to software or mobile app companies.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, I've been very curious to know about this from a very long time. So, how does a holiday look like in the life of the startup guru, Sanjeev Bikhchandani? What does the holiday look like?
Oh, see, the truth is that if you're an entrepreneur, and this is advice to all startup entrepreneurs out there, chances are that work-life balance will be hard, right? To make a company succeed, you have to be full-time into it. So Sagar Dharani of Wow Momo, who's from Calcutta, and I think he's from St. Xavier's College only, I'm not sure, right? He once told me, or he told an audience in front of me, an audience like this, when the same question was asked, he said, listen, there is no such thing as work-life balance. There's only work-life integration, right? So to actually, एक company बनाने में entrepreneur का तेल निकल जाता है. So you have to be prepared to put in that kind of effort and commitment if you want to do a startup.
Sir, like a couple of questions before we end the session. One is that, sir, what do you see as a message for all the students present here for their future, something of a learning lessons for all of us in general?
See, first of all, don't do a startup because it's fashionable to do a startup, right? Do a startup because you believe in that idea, because you have found your calling, because that's what you want to do in life. Because to make a startup work, it'll require that kind of commitment, right? If you're just dabbling, so don't dabble. Do it only if you're serious and committed, number one. Number two, it's okay to not be an entrepreneur if you don't want to be. It's fine. Pursue your dreams, whatever they are. And if it's not entrepreneurship, it's okay. Number three, it is sometimes useful to work in a large organization, to learn before you become an entrepreneur. I worked for 5 years, and let me tell you, if I had not done that, I would have been a total failure as an entrepreneur. I learned so much in those 5 years. So it's okay. Of course, enough people are doing it straight out of college, or some people are even dropping out of college and doing it.
Sir, yes, you would like to say
Yeah,
something.
and the final thing I'd like to say is that if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's sometimes very sensible to dream big. You must dream big, because that's what will keep you motivated and going. But start small. It's okay to start small. You don't have to start big.
So one last final question for all the startup founders like Aditya, Shubham, and everyone present here. So, sir, what would be a message from you to all these startups who have already started up and they are in their early stages trying to raise seed capital and seeking mentorship? So, what would be your message to them?
I'll say what I've always said to others, that the customer's money is better than the investor's money. Because if you're getting the customer's money and you're getting it at a price that's higher than the cost, and you're getting it repeatedly from the same customers, then chances are you have a viable business, right? And if you're getting the customer's money on these terms, then the investor's money will come if you want it. Because investors love to invest behind companies that are getting the customer's money. Right? On the other hand, if you get the investor's money first, there is no guarantee you have a viable business. And there's no guarantee customer वैसा आएगा नहीं आएगा. Right? So I would say prioritize the customer's money over the investor's money.
Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful session. I mean, this 1 hour session has been full of lessons, and I think for everyone who hasn't listened or has heard you speaking live has to go through the session once again to write down and keep in all the lessons which you've given us. And especially for our students who are there in the first or second year or third year of college, I mean, it looks like it's very, very important to remember all these lessons which you've given, and it's not less than one, a very, very important opportunity for us to listen to you and having you over at the Zoom call.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Over to Mansi for the vote of thanks.
Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Mr. Bikhchandani's journey has been a testament to the fact that success is not final and failure is not the end, but rather the courage to persevere and continue despite setbacks is what counts. After such an enriching session, it is an absolute honor and my pleasant duty to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. With immense appreciation and gratitude, I thank Sir for being present with us today and taking out time from his busy schedule to furnish the young minds with such practical and valuable insights on entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership from his experience with InfoEdge. Sir's unwavering determination, strategic thinking, and ability to seize opportunities have inspired us to be resilient and bold in our entrepreneurial endeavors. We are sure that learnings from this discussion and Sir's words of wisdom will act as a guiding light to strive for greatness and persevere in the face of adversity. A special mention to our respected principal, Reverend Dr. Dominic Savio, SJ, and Vice Principals, Reverend Dr. Joseph Kulundai, SJ, Reverend Dr. Peter Arokium, SJ, and Professor Bertram da Silva for encouraging us to pursue greatness and live up to the great Xaverian reputation. I would further like to thank our faculty advisor, Dr. Arup Kumar Mitra, for his leading supervision and inspiration at every juncture. I'd also like to thank Ajay Saw from the InfoEdge team for his constant coordination and helping in the implementation of a successful session. We sincerely acknowledge our audience for being patient, interactive, and putting forth such compelling questions. Last but not the least, I would like to extend a deep sense of appreciation for all the support, timely implementation, and guidance provided by the members of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell. We owe the success of the session to you. Once again, thank you all for tuning in with EDC. Have a pleasant day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much, sir. Have a great day.